FIFA's Mexico v England schedule call has turned confusion into knockout pressure. Who benefits when nobody knows the plan? England face booze, hotel security, and spying concerns. Declan Rice may play through pain. Aurelien Tchoumeni is out for France. But first, the mess around Mexico v England. We start with the story that sets the temperature for England's entire last 16 build-up. Not tactics first, not lineups first. The clock itself became the drama. FIFA to stick to schedule for Mexico v England game, source says. The biggest issue here is not that the match time is awkward. World Cups have awkward times all over the place. What matters is the uncertainty before a knockout game, because elite teams build these weeks around routine, recovery, and control. FIFA may end up with the original schedule intact, but the communication damage is already part of the match. Reuters reported that a source says FIFA will stick to the schedule for Mexico v England. That means the kickoff remains 1 a.m. Monday UK time. So let us be clear on this. The reporting we have says the game is staying where it is on the schedule, not that the kickoff has been moved again, and not that some separate thread has been cancelled. BBC Sport described England's last 16 kickoff as being in chaos for several hours before a FIFA U-turn. That detail matters, because knockout preparation is boring by design. Sleep, meals, media, training load, travel timings, all of it is meant to be predictable. When the governing body creates confusion, even for a few hours, it hands coaches a new variable they did not ask for. Look, nobody should pretend England are victims because a TV audience has to set an alarm. That is not the sharp point. The sharper point is player welfare and operational trust before a single elimination match in Mexico City. If FIFA wanted calm, it did not get it. It got a fixture that now arrives with complaints about communication, recovery, and whether the tournament machine is making the football harder than it needs to be. And if the schedule story made England's build-up feel unstable, the arrival scene made it feel personal. Mexico are not just hosts here. They are helping turn this into a proper away game. England face booze, hotel security, and spying concerns before Mexico tie. The overhyped version of this story is easy. Loud fans, angry welcome, dramatic pictures. The real football point is whether England can keep their match rhythm when the environment is deliberately uncomfortable. A hostile atmosphere is not a souvenir. In knockout football, it can change decision-making, tempo, and emotional discipline. BBC Sport reported that England were booed as they arrived at their Mexico City hotel before the last 16 match against Mexico. The same build-up has included issues around lightning, hotel security, and possible spying concerns. Important caution here. The reporting does not say England were physically attacked, and spying concerns are not the same as proven spying. Still, this is exactly the kind of World Cup theater that can become a performance issue. The match is in Mexico City at altitude, with the host nation energy behind Mexico, and England know they are walking into a game where every misplaced pass can be turned into noise. That noise can be thrilling if you are neutral. It is less charming when you are trying to defend a one-goal lead with lungs burning in the final 20 minutes. Put it this way, England do not need to win the hotel lobby. They need to avoid letting the lobby follow them onto the pitch. If Thomas Tuchel's players treat the booze like evidence that the world is against them, Mexico have already won a small battle before kickoff. If England treat it as background noise, the pressure swings back toward the hosts, because a home crowd can also become impatient very quickly. That takes us straight into the selection question that could define England's midfield. A hostile stadium is one thing. Entering it with a compromised Declan Rice is another problem entirely. Declan Rice ready to play through pain for England against Mexico. The lazy framing is that great players simply play through pain because that sounds heroic. The better question is whether a half-limited Rice still gives England more control than the alternatives. This is not an Arsenal injury update, this is a World Cup risk calculation in England's most important midfield zone. BBC Sport reported that Declan Rice is ready to play through pain for England against Mexico. AFTV also reported that Rice is set to be available for England's World Cup clash despite an injury issue. That is not the same as saying he is fully clear, fully pain-free, or guaranteed to start, and nobody should dress it up as a medical certainty. Rice matters because England's balance often depends on his ability to cover ugly spaces before they become disasters. Against Mexico, especially in Mexico City, that work can become brutal second balls, recovery runs, duels after transitions, moments where the midfield has to stop a counter before the defenders are dragged into emergency defending. If Rice is moving at 90%, that missing 10% can show up in exactly those moments. Here's the important bit. Playing through pain sounds noble in a tunnel interview, but knockout football is not a motivational poster. If Rice starts and cannot cover ground properly, Mexico will test the channels around him until the weakness becomes public property. If England hold him back and lose midfield control, the decision will be questioned anyway. That is the trap. Every option has a receipt attached. England are not the only contender managing a midfield headache. France now have their own knockout disruption, and this one is already firmer. Aurelien Tchoumeni ruled out of France's-Paraguay clash due to injury. Tchoumeni's absence is not just a missing name on a team sheet, it changes the shape of France's control. The temptation will be to turn every France story into Mbappé drama, but the supplied reporting does not say Mbappé is out. Deschamps now has to decide whether France protect the middle or stretch Paraguay with more attacking width. Oni News reported that Aurelien Tchoumeni has been ruled out of France's World Cup round of 16 match against Paraguay because of injury. Al Jazeera's build-up has France v Paraguay framed as a World Cup knockout match with Kylian Mbappé among the topics around the game, but we are not claiming Mbappé is ruled out. The confirmed availability problem here is Tchoumeni. For France, that matters because Tchoumeni is a stabilizer. He is not just there to look elegant in a Real Madrid profile picture. He gives France defensive positioning, pressure resistance, and that quiet ability to stop an opponent's attack before the stadium even realizes danger was forming. Remove him, and the structure needs another answer. The debate for France fans is obvious: control or aggression. Deschamps can lean into security and try to replace the midfield platform, or he can accept a bit more risk and ask France's attacking quality to overwhelm Paraguay. Knockout games punish cute theory. If France lose midfield control, this will not feel like a small injury note, it will feel like the moment the tie became uncomfortable. Now to the kind of result that makes a tournament feel alive even when it breaks hearts. Cape Verde are out, but nobody gets to call them a footnote. Cape Verde exit World Cup after heroic Argentina performance. The danger with underdog stories is turning elimination into soft focus sentiment and pretending the result did not hurt. Cape Verde lost, and that must stay in the frame. But against defending champions Argentina, their performance changed how neutral fans will remember this World Cup. Cape Verde are out after a 3-2 defeat by Argentina after extra time. The Guardian called it a heroic performance, the kind that lasts in World Cup lore, and BBC Sport described Cape Verde as underdogs the tournament will not forget. That is praise with a real scoreboard attached. Argentina advanced, Cape Verde went home. This is why the story lands. It was not a cute cameo from a small nation getting applause for showing up. Cape Verde pushed the defending champions into a match that demanded extra time and nerve. Neutral fans love that because it strips away the marketing gloss. For a few hours, the supposed gap between giant and outsider looked less like a wall and more like a door somebody nearly kicked open. Still, let us not turn this into a moral victory smoothie and drink it too quickly. Cape Verde are eliminated. Argentina survive. The champions move on with the stress marks visible, and Cape Verde leave behind a performance that may hurt more precisely because it came close enough to imagine the impossible. From a heroic exit to a historic progression, Egypt have changed the bracket in the most nerve-shredding way football offers. Penalties did the separator. Egypt reached World Cup last 16 after shootout win over Australia. Egypt's win is not just a celebration clip, it is a bracket event. Australia's goalkeeper switch will attract attention because shootout decisions always become courtroom evidence after the fact. The clean fact is brutal. Egypt advanced, Australia are out. BBC Sport reported that Egypt beat Australia 4-2 on penalties after a 1-1 draw to reach the World Cup last 16. The Guardian reported that Australia switched goalkeepers for the shootout, but the move backfired as Australia missed 2 penalties. This was not an Egypt win in normal time, it was a shootout win after a draw, with all the emotional damage that format brings. BBC Sport also described it as Egypt's first World Cup knockout stage win. That is the line that gives the result its weight. This is not just about surviving a match, it is about crossing a historical barrier. Supporters remember penalty nights differently. They remember the run-up, the pause, the keeper leaning, the ball hitting net or not. Egypt now have one of those nights stored forever. For Australia, the goalkeeper switch will be picked apart because that is what football does. If it works, the coach looks fearless. If it fails, the decision gets replayed like a bad crime scene reconstruction. Egypt will not care. They are in the last 16, and the bracket has one more team carrying belief instead of baggage. Another bracket piece has dropped into place, and this one carries a different feeling. Colombia are through, Ghana are gone, and efficiency has beaten possibility. Colombia see off Ghana to return to World Cup round of 16. This is a story where restraint matters, because not every circulating detail is equally supported. The reporting we can use says Colombia saw off Ghana and returned to the round of 16. What matters most is the consequence. Colombia moved forward, Ghana's opportunity disappears. ESPN reported that Colombia saw off Ghana to head back to the World Cup round of 16. The provided Al Jazeera labeled source in this package is not actually a Colombia v Ghana source. It concerns Argentina v Cape Verde. So we will not lean on that for unsupported detail, and we will not state a disputed scoreline or goal scorer from the supplied evidence. The confirmed football meaning is still clear. Colombia are back in the round of 16 and Ghana are out. Reaction is focused on Colombia's efficiency and Ghana's missed opportunity, which sounds polite until you remember how unforgiving knockout football is. You can play well in patches, you can have the emotional argument, you can feel the game was within reach, then the bracket simply deletes you. For Colombia, this kind of win can be powerful because it does not need to be glamorous. Tournament football often rewards teams that know exactly what they are, especially when the match becomes tight and everyone else starts negotiating with panic. Ghana leave with regret, Colombia leave with the next match. Now to the co-hosts, and a story that always tempts people to skip a step. The United States can see possible quarterfinal routes, but seeing a road is not the same as arriving there. USA's potential World Cup quarterfinal opponents assessed as bracket scenarios develop. The overhyped version is bracket daydreaming, where every conditional opponent gets treated like destiny. The useful version asks what the route tells us about risk, matchups, and expectation before the next hurdle. USA are in the knockout stage bracket, not already in the quarterfinals. USA Today has assessed potential World Cup quarterfinal opponents for the USA as the bracket develops. ESPN has also covered USMNT bracket scenarios, odds to advance, and a predicted path. The key word is potential. These opponents are conditional, not confirmed, and that is not the same as signed and announced by the football gods. For the USMNT, this matters because home tournament pressure has a strange shape. On one hand, fans look at bracket scenarios and ask whether the route has opened up. On the other, every supposedly favorable path comes with a trapdoor, because knockout games do not respect neat graphics. A team that looks manageable on a bracket board can become a nightmare if it wins second balls, kills tempo, and drags the match into stress. Here is the important bit. Bracket analysis is useful only if it sharpens the next performance. If it turns into national daydreaming, it becomes dangerous. The USA can talk about quarterfinal possibilities, but the next knockout assignment still has to be handled first, and that is where tournaments usually expose teams that started celebrating the map instead of walking the road. From the American bracket to Brazil's bigger emotional machinery, and this is where the football gets political without needing a transfer rumor. Neymar's role is still the question inside Ancelotti's control room. Brazil belief grows under Carlo Ancelotti as Neymar role questions continue. Brazil's belief under Ancelotti is real enough to discuss, but it comes with a star management problem. Neymar being unhappy with his role is not the same as Neymar refusing to play. The tactical question is whether Brazil are stronger with Neymar central, managed carefully, or used as a controlled impact option. Citizen Digital reported that Carlo Ancelotti said Neymar is unhappy with his World Cup role, but respectful. The Guardian has also analyzed how Ancelotti has made Brazil believe they can be potential World Cup winners. Neymar's current club context is Santos, and this is not a club transfer angle. This is about Brazil in the knockout rounds. There is always a risk with Neymar's stories that the oxygen gets stolen from the team. Every facial expression becomes a referendum, every substitution becomes a soap opera with shin pads. But Ancelotti's job is exactly this: make the dressing room believe, keep the biggest personalities invested, and avoid letting one-role debate swallow the structure that has made Brazil look more stable. The interesting part is that Ancelotti may be one of the few managers with the calm to handle it. He can praise Neymar, respect his frustration, and still decide that Brazil's best version does not require Neymar to own every minute. That sounds simple until the knockout pressure arrives and the cameras find Neymar on the bench. If Brazil win, it is management. If Brazil lose, it becomes the question that eats the post-match. Finally, away from teams still fighting in the bracket, Germany's World Cup fallout is already moving toward the next era. And yes, the name is big enough to shake the room. Jurgen Klopp holds Germany talks and says he is ready. Klopp to Germany is not a nostalgia story, and treating it like one misses the point. Germany are no longer active in the World Cup, so this is about consequence, reset, and national identity after failure. The talks are real, according to the report, but this is not an appointment yet. The Guardian reported that Jurgen Klopp has confirmed negotiations to take over as Germany's coach. Klopp said he is more than recharged and ready, while also stressing that intensive discussions are needed with the federation. So let us be clear, this is not done yet. Talks are not the same as a signed appointment. Still, the timing is powerful because Germany are out of the World Cup, and big national teams rarely process failure quietly. They look for a face, a philosophy, a reset button with charisma. Klopp offers all of that, but the danger is pretending his personality alone fixes structural problems. Pressing, belief, emotional connection, yes, he brings those. But international football gives managers less time, fewer training reps, and no transfer window to buy missing pieces. That is why the federation discussions matter. Klopp would need more than a welcome video and a scarf held above his head. He would need clarity on staff, player pathway, authority, and whether Germany are ready for the discomfort that comes with a proper reset. If this happens, it could define the next cycle. If it collapses in negotiation, Germany's search becomes even more exposed. That is the World Cup picture right now. FIFA trying to quiet a schedule storm, England walking into a hostile Mexico City test, Rice and Tchoumeni turning midfield fitness into knockout strategy. Cape Verde leaving with history but not progression. Egypt and Colombia moving the bracket. The USA staring at conditional routes. Brazil balancing belief with Neymar's role. And Germany circling Klopp as the reset name. Tablo Sports will keep separating confirmed football from convenient noise. Because at this stage of a World Cup, one bad decision can become the whole tournament.